Happy Friday, second grade. Welcome back to writing. We're going to go ahead, since we unpacked our assignment, we're going to dig right into our mentor text to gather our information. So we are going to go ahead and look at our PowerPoint slides for today so that we can make sure that we understand what we're doing. We are on day 3 of our writing. We're going to read and gather our evidence. So Herschel is taking us through. Hello, Herschel. He's taken us on our path. We've learned about our writing type. We've gone ahead and unpacked our assignment. Now we get to the fun part and learn new things and gather evidence. Please make sure you have your iReady writing book with you and a pencil. We are going to be doing some jotting down or taking notes or underlining of what you think is important in your text as you read so that we can gather information to use in our own writing. So as we are writing today, I would like for reading today, I should say. Our objectives are: I can read to understand two source texts, I can locate details to use in writing, and I can identify text features. And that's something that we've started working on closed reading. So hopefully you guys can go ahead and point them out before we talk through them. So let's go ahead. And today we're going to read a mentor text. We're going to read and gather evidence, but we're only going to read half of it. It's a 4-page mentor text. So we're going to read the first 2 pages today, and then we'll go into finishing the other parts next week. So let's go ahead, and we're going to read our first source text called Wheels, because we're talking about wheels and how we can improve the speed. So it's really important for us to understand how wheels work, and how we can use them in our experiment. So follow along as I read. From Wheels by David and Patricia Armentrout. Paragraph 1. Wheels are familiar to all of us. Look around, they're everywhere. Bicycles, cars, and even vacuum cleaners have wheels. Everyone uses them, but what do you really know about wheels? For starters, they are round. Wheels also come in many sizes: big wheels, small wheels, fat wheels, and skinny wheels. Paragraph 2. To be a true machine, a wheel needs to have an axle. An axle is a shaft or rod in the center of a wheel. The wheel turns on the axle. An axle can also connect 2 wheels so that they can work together. How can wheels and axles make our work easier? So you can see here's the wheel and here's the axle. It's the bar that connects the 2 wheels together so they turn at the same time, right? So we have a wheel and an axle that connects them. So we just read some good information as in these first 2 paragraphs. So far, what is this passage mostly, what is the article mostly about? Right, they're going ahead and they're explaining how they're similar. They're explaining how wheels and axles are used in everyday things, right? They make a connection to your life and things where places that you might see wheels. So why does a wheel need an axle to be a machine? Well, it says in the text that the wheel turns on an axle, right? In order for it to be a machine, the wheel and axle work together to form a machine that makes work easier. So a wheel is just an object by itself, an axle just an object by itself, but together they are a machine to help make work easier. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and I want us to look in our text. There's a bold word here. It's a text feature, and that word is axle. So the author went ahead and made that word bold for us so that we understand that it's an important word, and it actually gives us the definition. It says an axle is a shaft or rod in the center of a wheel. I'm highlighting it here for you. They just gave us the definition, similar to how Leah did in hers. She gave us the definition of a fulcrum, right? And a lever. So here they gave us the definition to help us understand as a reader, and that's really important for us. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to turn the page to page 137 to read on. Ooh, this is another subheading, right? So before we learned about the axles and stuff, now we have the first subheading about mechanical advantages. That's a big word. All right, let's read more about that. Wheels and axles, as with all simple machines, have one thing in common. They make our work easier by giving us a mechanical advantage. A person using a simple machine can do the same amount of work with less effort. Most everyone would agree that it's a big advantage. Paragraph 4. For example, let's say it's your job to harvest pumpkins from the garden. Can you drag them across the ground? Maybe, but they're heavy. What could you use to make your work easier? Try loading the pumpkins into a wheelbarrow. It is easier to use a wheelbarrow than it is to drag the pumpkins. A wheelbarrow has a wheel and an axle to share the weight, also called the load. The wheel and axle gives you a mechanical advantage. It's much easier to have that wheel there to help us rather than having to pick it up and just carry it, right? A wheel helps keep the movement going. So what do all simple machines have in common? Well, it says in our text that they make it possible to do the same amount of work with less effort, right? It makes it a lot easier. It gives us a mechanical advantage. So we could do that work, but man, that would be really hard. It's easier to carry more and it's faster using a mechanical advantage. So why is using a wheelbarrow to carry pumpkins easier than dragging them across the ground? Think about the mechanics of it, right? A wheelbarrow uses a wheel and an axle to share the weight. So the wheel and the axle help the weight carry the weight rather than you carrying the weight in your arms, right? You can see the difference in this picture right here. The author wrote this and really helped us by showing us these pictures of an example. It can help you understand what they're saying because they use a lot of big words, especially in informational text. They use a lot of words that we might not be familiar with. So these pictures will help us. So we are also going to look at why they separated the text into 2 paragraphs. I want us to take a look at that. Well, the first paragraph is explaining wheels and axles as a simple machine, right? But then the second paragraph describes an example, a wheelbarrow. So it describes wheels and axles as a simple machine, right? And then it gave us an example. It applied it so we could understand it better. So they broke it apart into 2 paragraphs to help us as a reader separate the facts from the examples. So tomorrow we're going to go ahead, on Monday, we're going to go ahead and finish reading more about the wheels and the axles and how they are helping us do less work. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing here. I hope you've learned something more about wheels and axles so that we can apply it to our own experiments later on. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I will see you back next week.